Welcome to BODW 2023 Summit. My name is Rika Choi, and I'm excited to share the final day with you. We will kick off today's program with an opening keynote on city brain and urban transformation. Our speaker in this session is Dr. Wang Jin, founder of Alibaba Cloud. So let's explore the benefits of having a city brain and potential to redefine and enhance urban living experiences. Let's welcome Dr. Wang.
Good morning, and it's great to be in the BODW 2023. And the city is a fascinating topic, and we all live in the city. And also, that the city is for the people. In the last 7 years, I've been very fortunate working on the topic of the city brain. So today, I will very much talk about, what's the relationship between the three things and what can we do for the next 30 years. And the city is actually something that we're really proud of that. And again, few people really realize actually that's the greatest invention of human being. And today we can't live without it. And if you look at the history, when people talking about the city, they're really talking about the relationship with the people. Even in the 1,000 years ago, when people talking about the city, they're really talking about how people actually live and work and do things in cities that actually shape the city that we have today. And even William Shakespeare, and in his work, and when talking about the cities, he basically said, okay, what is the city? People are the city. So it's just a very close relationship between the people and the city. This is even true today. So this is the definition of the city I really like very much. And so when you're talking about what is the city, people say, okay, it's a city, just a place to bring the people together. And just like we have this meeting today, we bring all of you around the world here in Hong Kong. But when you look at the what we have in the last couple of years, and you could see that actually city is also the greatest source of innovation. So we invent city, and also city helps us to do more innovation. And it's particularly true for the 20th century. Okay, this is the list of things you can find in the website first year of the century, almost 20 years ago, and let people identify what is the greatest invention of the engineering innovation in the last century. And if you look at the list, it's very interesting. You can see that actually electrification was listed as number one. And you can see that actually we have car on this list, we have computer, we have internet. But the interesting you can see is without the electricity, we probably won't have other invention. So the whole 20th century is really around the electricity, it's really around the electrification that really help us to invent a lot of things that we can have today. Even like the meeting today, without the electricity, we wouldn't have such a meeting here. And it's interesting if you look at the car, okay, because people are talking about the electric car today, but it's not enough. If you're just thinking about the car, it's not something pretty new. It's been invented almost 150 years ago. And when we had first this full-use car, we could never imagine actually car all shaped the city that we have today. And so all these inventions actually reinvent the city that we have today. But I specifically want to say that actually electrification is really the foundation technology that brings everything into the city, like the sky. So thinking about without the elevator that's powered by electricity, and we will have the skyscraper. So everything that we have today actually powered by the electricity. And even if you want a car to flow, freely in the city, we need electricity. So this actually, this is the traffic lights. So I'm not sure what they're thinking about. Without the electricity, we probably we won't be able to have the traffic lights like this. And this is interesting, the audio technology now is part of the life, and we just couldn't live without it. But even with all the new invention and technology achievement, and we're facing a huge challenge, So as a technologist, I feel pretty bad about that because we invent something, but we also cause a lot of problems that we have today. So thinking about the city we have today, we only occupy 2% of our land space, but we consume over 75% of nature resource. I'm not seeing the energy, I'm not seeing any other thing, but I would like to use the word nature resource. We basically consume a lot of nature resource from our mother planet, okay? So it's a huge challenge. 75% is a very large number. And how large it is amazing you're thinking about, when we have all the city. So this is a number that I read from Bill Gates' blog. First time 10 years ago. He basically mentioned, from the year 2011 to 2030, the cement used in China is more than all the cement used in U.S. in the last century. It's a pretty amazing number. Actually, when I read this number, I was shocked. And so basically means how many resources actually we used for the development of city. But we never actually think about that. So most of us actually take for nature resource as for granted. And today we are facing a huge challenge. So this is something that we have to think about. We have to find new technology to solve the problem. So for me, all the last gen technology just help us to use more resource. But starting from today, the new technology have to help us use less resource but create a better life. And but if you look at the city, where all this resource goes, actually the construction and the transportation are really the two key contributions for the usage of all these resources. Certainly, all the gadget cause this global warming emission. So treat the city better, then we could have more green city. That's the win coin. There's the win coin from two sides if you look at this problem. And I do want to mention this project because the big project from Boston actually reflects the how actually we treat the resource and reflects the problem that we have. It's very interesting, there's a highway actually goes through the downtown of Boston. That's the I-93, and it's just a highway. It was initially constructed in 1959 and designed for 75,000 vehicles every day. That was initial design. But by the year of 1995, actually the traffic goes through this highway. It's more than 170,000. Actually, just counting the number, from 75,000 to 190,000, even though it's 2 or 3 times more, but it's not that much, okay. But the problem is huge, as you can see from this photo. So the city started a project, and this number over here. It lasts almost 16 years, and it cost more than $22 billion US, okay. And forget about the time and the money. Let's look at what they get from this project, okay. And it's an interesting photo that's before and after this project, okay. So they basically built around like 8 miles of tunnel. Certainly there's some other side project around this, but basically they actually move an overpass of the highway to the underground, okay. So they built the tunnel. The tunnel is about 8 miles long, okay. And they came back at a park as an open space for the city. It's only about 100 hectares, okay. So thinking about that, it's good for the city. But if you put all the number together again, and you can see 17 years and with more than 24 billion US, and we get an 8-mile tunnel and 100 hectare open space. So is that worth the money? And if you look at the resource they use, they basically use 7 million metric tons of concrete. And actually it's more than the concrete they use for Panama Canal. So it's amazing, when we see all the building, when we see all the things that we are doing, actually they are using more resource than what we saw. And we have to ask ourselves, is that the right way for us to treat our city? Is it the right way for us to use the resource we have today? But certainly the answer is not. So we have to think about, actually, the having a city with resource efficiency is really important. It matters, okay. And actually the challenge that we have is actually much to this picture. So what you have on your right actually is the tube of the water, okay. It's basically in Africa. Every family, every day, they actually consume the tube of the water. And certainly they get this water from polluted river. And as a key message is very clear, we need clean water for the people in Africa. But on your left is actually 17 barrels of water. And it basically says in the UK, and every family consumes 17 bottles of the barrels of water every day. And certainly it's clean. But we never answer the question, or even we never ask a question that's really about the better use of a resource. The question actually is, do we really understand from scientific point of view how many waters we need for each family? still not necessary that we make, we provide 17 barrels of water for each family. It's just a waste of the nature resource. But very unfortunately, today, with all the technology we have today, with all the data we have today, we don't have this answer yet. So that comes with an idea, the project, that should we do something, really answer this question, really make the city as an efficient, weather city. So that comes to a very simple question. We have been talking about, smart city for a long time. Okay, everybody knows what is smart city. So I challenge the people and ask them, if the city is not smart in resource efficiency, how we can tell, how we can say the city is a smart city? And that's not my question. Actually, if you look at the white paper, that actually published in 2009. Okay, they actually identify this problem already. It's not me, but in this paper, they already identify the problem. If you look at the number over here, it's actually published in one of the white paper that I've been published. Okay. And you can see it's really shocking again, just like I see the news blog the first time. It basically tells us more than 50% of the water that in our water processing, it just goes nowhere because of this leakage problem, the water leakage problem, and because of the theft of water, because of the pollution. So less than 50% actually used by the people. And not mentioning that actually you just open the tap and then let water go. This already counts as usage of water. But the leakage number actually is really surprised me. But even more surprising is even after 10 years of this paper published, and if you look at the report from the Irish government, again, that report published in 2009, and the number I listed over here actually published in 2018. It's already 10 years from what we want to build in a smart city, but still have more than 46 pounds of water just material leak in our pipeline. Okay, and so thinking about we see the advanced technology, and we enjoy the technology we have every day, but we still have not solved very basic and fundamental the challenge the city face. Okay, I really want to see by the year of the 2030, and we really could reduce the leak to the 25%. But even with this 25%, it's still a lot. Okay, let's think about 1/4 of the water just goes nowhere. We can't do anything with that. So it is a big challenge, but it is a great time we're thinking about new technology, how new technology could help us save the resource and make the city better. So the question is very simple. When we're talking about the people, talking about the human being, and we already knows how important the brain is for us. But when we're talking about the city, people are actually talking about artificial intelligence, talking about AI. But thinking about it, we're talking about artificial, but they tells you a different story. It's only 10% of cars on the road during the peak hour. So thinking about for the city A, only 300,000 cars on the street. So it's much smaller. It's much smaller than we thought. Then give us the clue to solve the problem. Instead of building more roads, you can do something different with the data. So I put one of the number over here is the number of intersections each city have, and the number of the traffic lights that each city have. So you can see for the CDA, they actually have more than 3,800 intersections, but they only have 2,800 traffic lights. So there's one question they didn't answer is, with the intersection without traffic lights, whether they are efficient enough. And also they don't have the data to answer for the intersection with the traffic lights, whether they increase the efficiency. So when you got all these, you really identify a problem, you find a new way to look at how the city could be involved, okay? And this is the data I want to show you, that actually you can see in a 24 hours, only the 2 peak time that you got to the 30,000 cars. But on the average, is very low. So traffic could be eased by better use of time resource for the city. That's actually controlled by the traffic lights. And there's some idea behind that. Actually, when we get this down, actually why website and report this, and it basically says, okay, City Brain monitors every vehicle in the Hangzhou and help reduce the traffic jam by 15%. So basically, we're using the data of the car to improve the traffic, okay. But here, I don't want to mention this 15%. I really want to identify the word, the monitors in this article. Again, actually, in the presentation I did in London, I mentioned before, I tell people we never monitoring the cars on the street. We just counting the car on the street. That's different. So basically, data having the safe way to help us. Instead of monitoring things on the street, you can just counting car, just like the meeting we have today. We know how many people attend the meeting, but we never monitoring every people to attend the meeting. That's the same for the City Brain project. So counting is enough for the city to help us to make things better. And again, we have to realize that actually cars, all the technology just takes up too much space and resource in our city. And again, this is the satellite image for the downtown Buffalo. You can think about the parking lot and the highway. They occupy too much space here. So this is the resource the City Brain eventually want to takes better. So to summarize, actually, City Brain is more resource efficient. So one of the dreams I have, that whether we can use only 10% of the resource we use today to sustainable the development of a city that we have today. So put in a different way is, personally, I believe 90% of resource that we used actually has been wasted. So I hope with the data resource, we can win this 90% of natural resource back. So again, I want to mention the mechanism behind that is really about the coordination. We really knows where all these resource goes. And to put this very simple example, this is actually the map of the subway in New York. And it says, even though it's not on the ground, but it's very complicated. So seamless transit is very important, save people's time. That's our resource, okay. So again, the coordination is the key. And to finalize, we need to save resource in our city with the data resource. That's actually the data resources are coming from the people that we live in the city. That's a very precious resource. And also the city is a new technology gift actually from today's engineering. Thank you.
Dr. Wen. Thank you for your insightful sharing. Thank you. And thanks for kicking off today's program. So next up, we will explore the story of mobility and sustainability for Porsche China. In this session, we will have a power talk and a fireside chat on driving innovation and sustainability, Porsche's transformative journey in China. Our speaker is Janice Tang, Head of Innovation at Porsche China. Bringing her legal expertise to the field of innovation, she has been the key force behind the transformation of Porsche China. And as for the fireside chat, we will be led by Professor Viveka Chan, founder and vice chairman of We Marketing Group, and is a pioneer in China advertising and the first mover in digital, social media, e-commerce, and new retail. So let's welcome them on stage.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a session on innovation and sustainability as it comes to automotives. I'm very happy to have Janice with me today. She came all the way from Shanghai last night. And Janice, I remember last time we met in Shanghai, and I was asking you how you ended up in Porsche doing innovation, and we could talk about transformation. You yourself is a transformation, because I know that your background wasn't in design, it wasn't in tech, so you're actually like a lawyer. So can you tell a little bit about your own transformation journey, how you get into Porsche innovation?
All right, thank you very much. Indeed, I was here to really talk about how Porsche has had a very interesting journey in the past 5 years as a company realized the need to bring out more innovation coming from the marketplace, but it is also a journey of myself. Mm-hmm. So as spoken, 5 years ago, our company has set up the innovation office in a highly strategic decision to bring out more talents and technology and know-how from China back in our headquarters in Germany. I was at that time heading the compliance team in Porsche China, and indeed Porsche was my client, and I was previously a professional legal capacity. When I received the invitation, I was both awed and surprised, but I felt that even though I don't have the traditional automotive industry background, nor the technology or engineering expertise, I felt that precisely this alternative perspective would be very valuable to the company in a very traditional organization to bring out new insights and new ways to solve problems and challenges. And I'm quite glad that up until this point, I think we've been providing interesting and valuable output to the company.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So actually, I think Janice's own journey is transformation, innovation itself. When we talk about innovation, I guess today we cannot miss the market of China, because China is really driving a lot of innovation. So I found on ChatGPT that according to the Global Innovation Index in 2023, and this is by the World International Intellectual Property Organization, which is a specialized part of the UN, China ranks number 12 amongst 132 economies in terms of innovation. And where it did the best in terms of ranking is in knowledge and technology. And actually, China ranks number 6. So I know that particularly in the area of automotives, what has been happening is that China can be saying rewriting the history of automotives. So we have over 100 years of auto industry, probably led by Europe, specifically by Germany. But now what's happening in the EV area, in all this autonomous driving, China is really very, very advanced, and almost in many ways way advanced of everywhere in the world. So I think we're entering very interestingly, even in renewable energy. The first phase, we talk about manufacturing, functionalities, but now we're into another phase where we are really talking more about. Just now we heard Dr. Wang on Alibaba Cloud. It's really more about now not just hardware, but also software, use of data, and particularly customer experience. So I know, Janice, you have done a lot in the last few years in your innovation center. What have you done, and what does really the center do in driving Porsche innovation, particularly in the area of customer experience and now this whole new generation of sustainable vehicles?
Sure. I think to give context, Porsche is a 75-year-old company headquartered in Stuttgart, Germany. This is really where our products are researched, designed, and manufactured, which means that even though China is a very important market, we are considered as a sales and marketing subsidiary. So when you talk about, of course, focusing on marketing and brand experience, this is precisely one of the, let's say, priority portfolios that we first begun doing innovation projects, because this is something that we felt we have credibility to assess and to give insights of the market requirements back to our headquarters. What is also very interesting, of course, is that our customers themselves, I think, are the best testament of why we need to do more innovation locally. If we take out an average customer portrait of our customer in mainland China, they are on average 37 years old, close to 20 years younger than a European and American average. Close to half of our customers are actually female, which is also an astonishingly high proportion.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Compared to a lot of our European customers. So when we talk about being user-centric in creating experiences for our customers, I think it's very important that they have this portrait in their mind, and this is something that we also are actively, regularly communicating back to our headquarters, so that a developer and engineer sitting in a garage in Germany will be able to visualize and understand who are they really building the products for.
I remember when I was working for Gray, and what happens is when my bosses retire, they go buy a Porsche. And you talked about half of them are female. That's really interesting, because I owned a Macan for quite a while, for 8 years. So I didn't realize that's Asia, right? That's not typical Europe.
Indeed. I mean, I think a typical 911 customer portrait would then be only about 10-11% of the customers in Europe are female. And I think this stark contrast, not to talk about, in addition, just how much different in terms of lifestyle, the expectation on digitalized, seamless, convenient experiences that they are drawing on day to day from other aspects of their life. This also transfers their expectations when it comes to what do they expect when they're talking about purchasing an automobile, when it comes to talk about that whole customer journey in experiencing and acquiring our products. And I think this is something that demographics, but in addition, lifestyle of our customers, especially from this part of the world, that makes doing innovation here very exciting.
So can you show us some examples of what you have done?
Indeed, I hope we can bring up some impressions of what we have done here. I felt very honored the fact that despite some of my, let's say, backgrounds, unorthodox background, I think there are some things that help our ways in driving innovation. I think first, of course, the company itself has a very strong DNA when it comes to pioneering. I think a lot of our models in racetracks have then transferred technologies into passenger cars. And at the same time, I think just 4 months ago, on the birthday of 75 years anniversary of our company, we've also unveiled a Mission X, which is a hyper electric car concept study. And I do feel very proud that the company is pushing the boundaries when it comes to intelligent performance. But that being said, we do face a great trend when it comes to digitalization, connectivity, and electrification that is transforming the whole automotive industry. And I think this is then coming back to us, right? How can we, as an innovation office of Porsche China, our mission is to transform dreams into reality. And I think there are a few things of how we have then done so. I think one of our first and foremost assignment is to not do projects yet, but to make sure actually there is a unity, there's a common understanding, not just us in China, but those sitting across in Germany as well, that they realize the unique customer demands coming up from this part of the world. So we were very privileged that at that time we were the first ones to have hosted our executive boards, including the family member, Dr. Wolfgang Porsche himself, to have dedicated immersion visits in China so they could understand what is the technology landscape, what do our customers really wanted. And just using this year as an example, with the COVID policy finally easing back when international travel is a lot more convenient. We are the first brand in automotive that has taken 15 China infotainment companies, large and small, to the heart of our headquarters for a two-day exhibition to showcase to our engineers what are the possibilities of leveraging China.
Infotainment companies? Are they Chinese companies?
A lot of them are from China, but they're also internationally based, so they're also the European offices coming through. And I feel like these are just some examples of why this continuous campaign of breaking down the barriers of silos of lack of understanding is one of our very important aspects of our job. I think the second let's say, toolbox that we had was, and I really believe that the best talents and the best know-how exists outside of our company, however proud we are of our own organization. So in driving really open collaboration, we have in the past 5 years established a very strong network of partners, really players within the innovation ecosystem that can lend a research capability, that can bring VC and investment resources, a lot of platforms such as BODW today, so that we can really exchange and accelerate the whole transfer of know-how from the outside to the inside of the company. And this is something that we also find very valuable. But then coming back to your question, so what do we do with all of these support from the headquarters and also the inputs coming up from the outside, is that we were then step by step building up customer innovation projects, projects that also leverage solutions like AI and big data and automation to land more efficient and intelligent enterprise processes, sustainability, and so forth.
I know that you just said you work with a lot of other partners. I know you have an incubation program, right? Because Hong Kong Design Center also have an incubation program. Can you tell us a little bit more about your program? How do you incubate and how do you work with them?
Sure. So I think it also was an idea that started up in 2022 where the team felt like we really want to reach out and tap into more of the ideas, the dreams coming out from a wider cross-section from the startups. So we have launched an innovation accelerator of Porsche last year, where we have interviewed more than 100 entrepreneurs from the country. And they all have fascinating solutions cutting across different disciplines. And then we were very successful in pairing 8 of them, and within a short period of time of 6 months, or have developed a prototype and then has been commercialized into campaigns, apps, experiences that were then used before our customers and our dealerships. And this is something that is one way of how we work with startups, so proof of concept projects. But what is then very interesting is that actually half of our investment portfolios. So we at Porsche also strategically invest into startups. Half of our investment portfolio actually resulted from such a collaboration format. And I do believe that this type of innovation projects offer a very, I would say, expedient way for both sides to test out the chemistry, to understand where is the fit of the technology or the solution to our business requirements and problems, and it then also paved way for these startups and these founders to be part of the Porsche ecosystem, part of the Porsche family.
You mentioned there are 100-something people wanting to, and finally you select 8 or 10, right? So in that selection process, who's the judge?
The business. The business units would always be my ultimate internal customers because I feel like their vote of confidence of the startup's proposal would be first and foremost important to make sure that this collaboration would be successful. So we evaluated the startups from different aspects. Of course, part of it is general regular due diligence, but a lot of it is coming to the founders, I would say, his own charisma and his own determination of what does he see to be the future of his particular space. And then it comes down also then to his supporting team, how well they can think out of their box and to adapt their solution into the Porsche environment. So there are different types of projects that we have then done, and I could also just show a few to you here. One of the signature of our innovation projects is always to push virtual world experiences, because I feel like this part in Asia is really where our customers are demanding a lot more interactions with brands in the virtual spaces. So we've actually done various projects, whether it's creating the actual virtual space of the metaverse or building that digital collectible, or in this case, we are the brand who actually created our own Porsche virtual idol, with the hope that beyond our crest, beyond our product, beyond our lettering, there are something that is of warmth, that is of human touch, that our customers can relate to. And this is actually one of the 3 prototypes that we have built at that time, where the DNA of the brand is transferred into the design of a influencer. This is a 22-year-old girl of Chinese descent, but then she studied in Germany, now specializing in UI and UX. And this springtime, we pushed her out into the China social media space, but we didn't announce her to be Porsche. Our goal at that time was to see could the people like her and enjoy talking to her. And to our surprise, I think during that 2-month campaign, we were able to amass 300,000 followers and fans.
Wow, that's quick.
Without announcing that she's coming from our brand. And we're now very hopeful that we'll then integrate her in a lot more virtual campaigns. So I think that's one example. I think the second one that we also do very well is to aggregate solutions, because oftentimes startup A comes to us with a proposal and another one came along and tell us something else. What I think we do as an innovation office is to try to break down the silos and to create something from a lot of these solutions. So this is also one of our first car-related innovation project. It was a big deal for us, just thinking about how China team can start retrofitting a car. But our vision at that time is to imagine what would be the future in-car entertainment experience for our customers. So we have actually changed the rear windows into one that you can project and display contents, but also interact just like you will on a smartphone screen. And this is some of the use cases that we have also created in a road drivable car that interacts with location and mapping. And we have actually just pushed it out to customer studies. It was running on the bund, and I think the response was very positive, that they would like to see
screen changes, right?
They would like to see more of these type of content coming up.
Is this a prototype or this is real in action here?
We have actually built a real prototype. So it's not an animation, it's not like a PowerPoint presentation, but it's actually a built car that has run in Shanghai on the bund and also run in Guangzhou. And this is another thing that we feel like for innovation is very important, that we need to really build something in order to learn that subject and to also then display it to our executives so that they can immerse themselves and really believe and understand the value.
Proof of concept, right?
Exactly.
But, you see this innovation, but understand, I worked on autos, a lot of global brands, and they hold on to their holy grail. How can you dare touch Porsche, right? So how can you manage this innovation from China?
I think then on a project level, I was always very low-key when I show the prototype to our engineers. We always want to make it as raw as possible so that it doesn't look so polished. So we deliberately left cables and projectors hanging here and there so that they don't feel like it's such a finished product. So that's a bit of a tactical approach. But I think on a wider scale, we do know that actually the top management has a very clear acceptance and awareness about what China innovation can offer. I think usually the loss in translation, the roadblock then happen in the middle session of the organization. So we also have actually this year leveraged again our expertise with virtual world innovation, that we have built out an internal metaverse trading space for 30,000 employees in Porsche AG, so that they can, at their own time, tap into the space. And we've actually created bite-sized video recordings of expert interviews, customer dialogues, presentations, so that even they don't have the chance to all come to China to see what is happening in this part of the world, at least they have an access to do so with minimum effort. And I think so far we're also getting a lot of responses. I think a lot of other brands from the Volkswagen group are also very interested in our solution. So we hope that this is our effort to try to communicate this China innovation landscape, the potential towards other parts of the world.
I have a very important but one last question for you. As you know, I think Hong Kong must be a really big Porsche market because you see it everywhere. But actually, Hong Kong do not have our own auto brand. We don't have any manufacturing, and they're all distributors, so they don't really own the brand. So we don't really have a very established auto business in Hong Kong. So, but we have really talented designers. We have talented, visual designers, whatever, software. How do you think Porsche, China, with all your innovation center, can make use of our Hong Kong talents to be able to do collaboration and contribute together?
Okay. First, I think even though here, as you say, and even in our China business, we don't manufacture or do R&D in our regular affairs. What you have seen just now, however, there's still a huge white spot when it comes to how do you create really innovative and engaging customer experience projects. And I think therefore, even though, yes, at the moment we don't see like a Hong Kong automotive brand, but I feel this is not gonna be a showstopper if you have a fantastic idea, if you say you have expertise in managing sophisticated luxury customer experience projects online or offline. We do have like 150 Porsche centers in China at the moment, including in Hong Kong. I feel like there's still a lot of room, a lot of opportunity for companies, for talents here from Hong Kong to approach us to see what we could do together. And I think this is also maybe quite timely that I really believe that there's so much to do when it comes to local innovation, and we cannot do it all by ourselves. So we've also then, from last year onwards, built out a portal so that companies from different parts of the world, if they feel like there's a solution that can be helpful to our Chinese customers, we would really welcome them to approach us. And I think in the past, we have worked with companies, not just based out in China. I think they have also quite an international footprint as well. So this is something where I feel like is the first point where if you have an amazing dream, a vision, a passion, please let us know.
Great. So, I think we have a lot of Hong Kong talents here. So you heard the message. Please go to the Porsche portal, submit your great ideas, and hopefully we can work with them. And also, I think if there anyone who is interested to work together with Porsche Innovation, you can also work through Hong Kong Design Center, and we'll make sure you know about it. So hopefully we can then invite a lot more in the future, innovation from Hong Kong, Porsche China, and hopefully become something globally.
And indeed, and I think maybe as one last gift, I have brought along a video which I hope encapsulate our brand's vision when it comes to believing in dreams. And I think maybe that could be a fitting closure to our session.
That's great. Thank you.
Every one of us dreams. Some of us chase them. For 75 years, we've been driven by dreams. We dreamt in full color. It's what made us race towards brave ideas. We saw Salzburg red for 24 hours. We made a pink pig fly. And went to green hell and back for victory after victory. our dreams come in 500,000 shades and counting. Mint green, guards red, speed yellow. We've always been for the bold, the bright, and the brave. Even this guy. Our universe is one where dream is a verb, an invitation, a place where artists, racers, and innovators come together. The product of one man's dream. We've been undoing what's always been done. Together, our dream will color the next 75 years. Open your eyes, take the keys, join us here.
Thank you very much, Janice.
Thank
so hopefully we will all share our dreams and work with Porsche. You'll be the game changers. Thank you. Nice of you.
Thank you so much, Janice, and thank you, Dr. Chan, for exchanging your ideas and insights. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, just want to tell you that we have a room NL right upstairs here where you can enjoy a coffee and also, most especially, to meet the speakers and exchange some ideas and have a chat with them. So please feel free to go up to room NL anytime during the day. And we will return to discuss a reinventing retail experience with virtual reality. So see you all in a bit. Thank you. Welcome back for a series of Power Talks, and we will bring to you Reinventing Retail for one world's largest audiences and a fireside chat. Our speaker for this session will be Chris Chan, Chief Creative Officer, China of Dentsu Creative. And the fireside chat will be held by Mr. Darren Tuckery, Executive Director of Content Innovation of Tech. So let's welcome them on stage.
Welcome.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
So nice to have you join us from China, come down on this special trip.
Yeah.
Are you real or are you a metahuman?
I'm not sure today. Yeah.
Today, it's an exciting topic that we've seen an incredible transformation of the market in the metaverse, moving towards digital, connected to physical worlds. And in this session, we're really going to see how the two do connect in an incredibly powerful way that ultimately transforms business. And Dentsu is one of the world's largest global agencies, and it's great to see that you're driving innovation in this area. So why don't we kick off? You got a presentation talking about Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, and how they transform their business.
Yep. Okay. So may I stand up?
Oh, absolutely.
Because, I cannot sit in the speech. Yeah, okay. And today, I think I will introduce this case is KFC case. It's from China. Yeah, and this case also won the Cannes Lions Awards. Yeah. Before I started, I want to briefly introduce about the KFC. Yeah. Okay. Unlike other markets in the world, KFC is the largest and most successful restaurant brand in China. Yeah, but I served this brand start from 2015. At that moment, it's not so strong, but when we did a long-time digital transformation, at that moment, 2015, KFC still 100% cash payment. Yeah, and they don't have the membership system. It starts from zero. But now, today, I think it's over 99%. Yeah, is digital payment, and they have over maybe 400 million membership in the world. So I think it's a long-term digital transformation. And in 2018, some media said, okay, KFC, a tech company disguised as a fried chicken business. That means KFC is very successful in digital transformation, and they even, change whole China retail industry. So, we did for KFC, we cooperate with KFC for several different cases. Yeah. For example, the first one, yeah, we call running the menu. Yeah, if we use location-based service and the weather data, if your area is rent, so you will pop up a new special offer menu. Maybe it's a very simple idea, but it increased the efficiency of delivery for 25%. Yeah, so it's a huge change. And the second, as everyone knows, China is a great population, but they have so many different dialects. So just like Cantonese or Dongbei-hua, or so many. But we develop a AI robot. This robot can recognize different dialects. Or even today, you go to any KFC store in China, you can use the mobile app to change the background music. If you want your boyfriend, propose, yeah, you can choose, 今天我要嫁给你啦, kind of, yeah. And okay, and the last one is we call it pocket store. Because young Chinese people, they really love to start their own business. So we start to think, how can we make everyone has a KFC pocket store in their WeChat? So now today there are 8 million pocket store in China. Yeah.
And what's a pocket store?
Oh,
so explain
it's
what
kind
a pocket store is.
So it's a WeChat-based small application. Then you can you can open a pocket store in your WeChat, and your friends can buy KFC stuff in your store. Then you will get something, benefit, yeah, so they can get the discount. Yeah, so it's very simple concept. It's a social commerce idea. Yeah, looks like very successful, but after COVID, because, before I always think technology changes, but people don't. But after COVID, the Chinese young people, they do change. So this is a research, 46% of young Chinese, they prefer to stay at home. We call 宅男, otaku, yeah. And more than 70% of Gen Z users, they prefer to socialize online than offline. So KFC is a retail business. So for this kind of retail business, it's a huge impact. So in 2022, KFC China store traffic was suffering, and the business performance had declined by 16%. So at this moment, we start to think, if young people don't come, can we open a store to where they are? It means a virtual space. So, but it's something we need. We have a research is very interesting. It's Chinese post 00后, how to say that? Post 2000, they prefer that they think their virtual identity is even more important than their physical identity. The virtual identity means social media or their gaming account or kind of, yeah. So we start to think, can we help the young Chinese Gen Z? Yeah, can we help them to enhance, empowering their self-expression in the virtual space? So, okay, and we have a very interesting research from Dentsu Tokyo. Young Chinese people, they really love to pay money in the virtual space. It's maybe 3 times than, global. You can see, China, they pay a lot. They love to purchase in avatars and avatar items, and some virtual space or purchase 3D items. Yeah, you look at Japan there or US, they don't love to pay. Chinese people love to pay it in, we call 氪金, yeah. They really love to pay money in the virtual space. So our challenge is very clear. We want to reignite cultural relevance among Gen Z with KFC and to create new consumption occasion for a virtual world. Not just, we build up a 3D space or we build up just a metaverse idea. No, we want to make something can make really consumption behavior and drive sales. Okay, but we think Okay, so now, China is the most decentralized media environment. That means, just like TikTok, Douyin, is we call content decentralized. Or just the Pinduoduo yesterday, just passed the Alibaba, in Nasdaq. So Pinduoduo is we call e-commerce decentralized. Or knowledge platform called Zhihu. Zhihu is a knowledge decentralized. So how can we make a decentralized idea platform? And the second, now the interaction should be 3D. Before, we use just like in the Facebook or Instagram, it's a 2D interaction with the consumers. Can we do a 3D interaction? And can we bring some social currency for our consumers? So in the virtual world. Okay, so we come up an idea we call Restore. But we heard about so many metaverse forums. Everyone's talked about metaverse in the past 3 years. But did someone really did it? We really want to try to make a real metaverse space. So we use first we want to find a platform. A platform can. Which kind of platform? Yeah, this platform is they have the social base. They have a volume. And the second, we use Unreal 4 engine. So we create with Timi Studio from Tencent. Timi Studio is a gaming studio, and in the QQ platform. Okay, first, and we have something we want to change is, do we need to build up a same the brand look like in the real world or in the virtual world? So the concepts we can be more innovative. Yeah. Do we need an avatar to interact with the consumers, or do we need a place? Yeah. So and we not just want to do a virtual idea. We want to connect with the real world. And so we start to design all the elements and all the, the 3D, the concept elements, and cooperate with the Timi Studio. So we do the concept, we do the mechanism design, we do the avatar design, and the Timi Studio do all the technology base. So we can see these case studies.
This is not yet another metaverse idea. This is an idea that uses the metaverse to create an entirely new permanent retail platform for KFC in China. One that outsold traditional bricks and mortar KFC stores by 1,000-to-1. Introducing KFC Restore, the reinvention of the KFC restaurant experience for a new generation who lives, breathes, and eats online. KFC had a problem. Store traffic was down and business performance had declined by 16%. Why? Because the entire world has seen a huge universal behavior change and migration to online habits that has shifted the retail landscape forever. So what do you do when you're the brand who is most vulnerable to this change? With the biggest retail footprint in the world's most populous country, you re-evolve, and in doing so, reinvent the way that brands show up online. We created a virtual store experience hosted on China's most popular platform for young people, QQ, that wasn't just another brand turning up in the metaverse. We captured the cultural, sensory, and playful elements our Gen Z audience loved about the original in-store experience and heightened them to guarantee their dwell time. They could order food in the online world and have it delivered in the real world. They could chat with each other and a virtual Colonel Sanders. Create their own avatar with KFC fashions, open their own store, dance and socialize with friends, purchase gifts, and play games. Restore doesn't just bring KFC to the metaverse. It creates an alternate, more relevant retail experience for the way customers now shop, future-proofing the brand and elevating the transactional nature of buying food online into an immersive, emotional, and personalized experience.
Yeah. So it's not just a one-time campaign for us, because we really want to build up a platform. So, you know, it's until today, it's still there. Yeah, the KFC is restored, and just like a real store, we have so many different campaigns for this store, just like Chinese New Year campaign, Christmas campaign. We even co-branding with Pepsi in the metaverse. Yeah, and we just finished a summer campaign and the Moon Festival campaign. Yeah, so it looks like we recreate a, you know, KFC store in the parallel world, and until today, there are 4.2 billion total visitors in 1 year. So you know, before, in real, you know, I'm not sure it will be success. But you know, in first day, 8 million people came to KFC store, KFC restore. So we think, okay, maybe something happened in the world we didn't know. Yeah, so it's very success in this 1 year, and it still continue. And also, I think KFC sales is increased by 15% until the Q3. So I think it's not just the metaverse, you know, not just the metaverse. We break the boundary between the, you know, virtual and the reality. So that's, I think, why we success in this case. Yeah, thank you.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. How fascinating are the numbers to me? It's mind-blowing when you look at this 4.5 billion interactions over the course of the year, but most importantly, how it transformed the business.
Yes.
A declining business that was going down 16% to the first 3 quarters of 23 increased by 15%.
Yeah.
You know, this is really shocking to say now, how do we connect the worlds? And the interesting part is also when you're in the virtual world and you order, now it also connects to when the actual physical delivery rings your doorbell, right?
Yeah. Now, before it's just, you know, you can order online and deliver to your home. But now we have both sides, the virtual side and the physical side. When the people, you know, ring your bell, then if you are in metaverse, it also someone will ring your bell and deliver the food in the same time. So it's very interesting. We connect, you know, the physical and the virtual in the same time. Yeah.
And I think it's a brilliant concept. Also, Dentsu out of Taiwan did a project with Pizza Hut where you order a pizza. And then all of a sudden you're able to play a game, a driving game in a virtual space, and timed exactly as to when the car ends, the game ends, the car stops, and then the doorbell rings and your pizza's there. And that's really showing you that when we say phygital, really now connecting the virtual and the digital world. So one of the key things you said was about platforms. There's so many different types of platforms out there, and I think that you said you can't build these and expect it to come, so you really worked with QQ, because that was a large scale and partnership with them, right?
Yeah, because I think, you know, you want to build up a metaverse space. If you build up from, you know, scratch, it's not easy. Because you will build up a 3D space and no one comes, you know. So many, I think so many people did it. Yeah, you build up, you spend a lot of money, build up a 3D space, but no people came in. Yeah, so at first we choose the platform is very carefully, because in China has so many big, you know, internet companies. So just ByteDance, Alibaba, Bilibili, you know, everyone has a metaverse project. But why we choose QQ is because they have the, you know, most young people social base. So they got the volume. So we based on this social base, then we recreate, cooperate with them. So it's easier to make brand success. Yeah.
And it was an interesting point you brought up about the virtual identity of a younger generation in China. Is more important than their physical identity and how they connect and interact on that. So where do you see this going now in the next few years? You know, you built out a platform, which is the most important part. Don't jump into this technology unless you've put in a platform by which you're building your business around it. And I think that's one of the big lessons, right? It's how do you plan for this? You can change, adapt, try new technologies as you go, but you have to really build a base.
I think now it's still in the early stage. Yeah, because I think the device issue, is still PC and the mobile base. Yeah. So, but when we start to build up this space, we use Unreal 4 engine. It's already an immersive version. If you got the device, then you can very simple switch to a immersive world. But I think we still have so many challenges because we don't know this kind of behavior will change maybe next 3 years. So maybe gaming platform is the next the platform we really focus on. Yeah. So because I think gaming, the stickiness is very high. Yeah. So that is we still find another platform to cooperate to build up different metaverse experience.
And maybe towards more of a photorealistic type of experience, because right now it feels like it's very game driven.
Yeah.
Do you see that this more and more the reality of this will put you almost blur between what this world and the
so I think maybe I think this month Apple's Vision Pro will establish.
I know.
So we are very excited to wait. Maybe it will change whole industry. Yeah. So.
And how do you look about now the virtual characters, building virtual characters, meta-human type of characters, and do you see that the brand should be building those? Like you had the Colonel Sanders, it was interesting. Is that an important thing? Because in China you have the real KOLs. And what about the virtual? Do you see a much more fast move towards creating your own virtual?
Yeah, because in China, so many brands, the CMO asked me to help them build up the virtual character. Because Chinese celebrity has so many scandals last 3 years. Someone in jail or somewhere. So so just like me, I faced so many crises these 3 years. So many celebrities have the different scandals. So now brands they want to find a safe space to help to be the brand spokesperson. So this kind of, but I think it's still in early stage. Yes, early stage is even you build up a character, but this character don't have the fan base. So how can you create the fan base for a virtual character? How? Yeah, it's so many. I think Japan has so many successful cases. Because just like AKB48 or it's real PC people, but because do you know AKB48 is invented by Dentsu?
Well, we're new to the Dentsu family, so a lot to learn.
So we have so many this kind of or 初音未来, I don't know how to say that. In English. Kind of virtual character. Japan is the virtual market, so we can learn from that. So because Dentsu help a lot of kind of virtual idol to be successful.
And I think it's interesting because we're on this edge of a revolution. I wouldn't even call it evolution with AI and voice now, so that we're able to ultimately, as an example, from text and interactions, I can be in 100 different languages. Different dialects, which is even more important. So you're able to now really utilize that and have a true natural language interactions, right?
So I think now, I always think experience is a tech combination. And AI now, we already use AI in different space, just image recognition, face recognition, or voice sampling, or location-based service. We use so many AI to help the client, just like CAPC. Why is the digital transformation is a huge combination? Just like their delivery, we use a dynamic delivery. So they can, now in China, you can get your order within 30 minutes, in every city, in 1,600 cities. So, it's you heard maybe just, okay, it's just maybe 5 minutes faster, but it's a huge change. So I think just like today's topic, I think retail experience technology, acts a very important role.
So what's most exciting for you coming up?
Yeah.
Just working in this space, connecting the virtual worlds to that. What's exciting for you in the next few years?
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can be virtually.
No, we know that.
Because
we know
I'm a gamer. I'm very old, but I'm an otaku. We call ACGN, animation. I really love animation, comics, and game. So I think the next 5 years later, it will be my most exciting moment, because if you are ACG fans, it will be a very wonderful world.
And just in the last question here is before we wrap up. Now, is this just a young generation, or is this an area that's going to be across generations? I saw in KFC, even people, there was a big audience actually, even 50 and above. So is it across all different generations? Do we have to design for the young, for the different age groups?
I think it depends on the platform. QQ is younger people, but we can choose another platform to targeting other ages audience. Yeah, just like me. Yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have today. It's fascinating, and it's exciting to see China on the forefront of delivering this type of technology that's connected the real world to the actual business problem. It's not just a game. It's a business platform. And how do we connect, engage, and interact with this next generation of customers and next generation of technology? So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Great. Thank you. So we'll just hold him for a second.
Thank you very much, Chris and Darren. Thank you so much for the insightful discussion. And coming up next, we will have a power talk with the software designer director of OPPO. So please stay tuned. Bringing us a power talk on AI experience design, we have speaker Dr. Zhang Zi, software designer and director of OPPO, recognized by Forbes as the top 10 designer in China 2022. Let's join Dr. Zhen on a journey into the realm of design innovation. Let's welcome Dr. Zhen.
Hello, everyone. So, when I was a kid, I played a lot of video gaming. And my dad came to me and he said, okay, you play a lot of video gaming. You're very good at computing. Gave me a new email account. And I could beat any classmates at video gaming. But an email setup, it had me stumped. You know, especially when you look at the screen, I keep, confusing about the month is December or it's May. But the real issue is the century. I forgot to put the century. It seemed obvious, but not to me. Was I a dump? Obviously no, because always somebody else's fault. And it wasn't email technology's fault. It's an issue of design. What is design? It comes back to this essential problem that we have. I have no idea. And what's your opinion about definition of design? And what separates natural evolution from intentional design? So this question vexed me a lot until I found something in my high school when I was in California. Look at this. What is this? Is that a weapon? Is that a weapon? Nope, obviously. Is that for a tool for work? Yeah? Is that something that you would find in the kitchen? Okay, cool. I see hands nodding. So, yes. Actually, it's an avocado slicer. Well, imagine that. So we design things to make our lives easier. An avocado slicer looks the way it does because it helps us cut avocado easily. Changing to survive in the real secret behind design. things look like they do because it helps them live and grow. Things that don't fit in might not survive today. So when do we have like 5 fingers instead of 4 or 6? Because 4 maybe is not enough to finish this complicated task. If it's 6 fingers, it's too much power consuming. Now we know a bit about design, and what about technology? What's the relationship between human and technology? Imagine this old radio. I love it very much personally. It's designed by Dieter Rams. And on the other side, we have a Spotify app on the Oppo flip phone. What's the same about them? Both let us listen to music, but the way we listen has changed. On the old radio, we could only hear some songs at certain times, certain channel. With Spotify on our phones, we can listen to any song we want, anytime. We still love music, but the way we listen to music has changed. So, it's designers' job to remove barriers between people and technology. Good design evolves with advancing technology, becoming so integrated that nobody feels the presence of advancing technology. As we invent new tech, design molds it seamlessly into our world, so we barely even notice it's there. That's the magic of design. Making tech feels like it's always been a part of life. And thanks to OpenAI, we are now living in the time of AI, just like when radio was born in the 60s. Everything can redesign in the age of AI. So OpenAI is a very cool tech company. They improved the bottom layer of AI technology. But it's very funny that when I see a lot of other AI products, they all look like the same as ChatGPT because this conversational interaction rate. But actually, they are not making large language model. So this leads to our big question: how do we make a great AI product today? We have 3 principles for good design in the age of AI. Above all, good design is organic. It should fit into our day-to-day life easily and know what we want before we even ask. Technology should feel like just another part of our life. We created a design called ecomorphic design. It's like learning from water to make things easy to use. It's used by more than 600 million of people all over the world. So we use this idea of water in 3 forms, liquid at the bottom, solid ice in the middle, and gas clouds at the top. The liquid part in the base and the solid part has the apps you use a lot. And the gas part, the cloud, has changing news and alerts. So we didn't just copy nature. We learn from it. We use nature's idea to make a design that changes based on the users. That's what we call organic design. Just like an old friend saying, be water, my friend. But sometimes things are not designed well. You can see examples of these in your everyday life. And even here, very close to us. So just like you can see, we have 3 layers. The bottom is the liquid, and in the middle you can see the solid, and also on the above the top is the gas. So we have built this ecosystem to navigate in your operation system. This is a banana. It's a very unique banana. It's a banana from Art Basel, which worth $120,000 US. Trust me, the barrier is not only between technology and human, also art and human. Look at this famous artwork. I've been trying to remove the barriers between art and human. This time, I'm using AI to help. When you look at an art piece, the value isn't just the artwork itself. It's in the story behind it, the idea it came from, what the artist was feeling when they made it, and the time in which it was made. So we've built an artist's eye powered by AI for you. Without any typing or coding, you can dive into the story of the artwork instead of feeling confused in front of a modern art. Good design removes complexity from life, no matter what it is. Good design is organic. It removes complexity from life. So solving problem is just the first step to build a good design. Now let's take a look at the second principle. It's empathetic. So every design we make is for people. A design without empathy is like a wedding ring without love and promise. So picture this. Now you are at a dinner table with the loved ones, your friends, and your family, but everyone staring at their phones instead of you. So I worked in a phone company, but phones should make us closer. Well, that's the invention, like the intention of the invention of the phone, right? Instead of separating us. So we need to help people connect again, get back to where we started. We created a feature called Zen Mode. It makes your phone unusable for 30 minutes. It's a way to remind us why phones were invented. 2 years later, you see focus mode in the market. Maybe, in your phone, you have the focus mode. So, as designer, it's our duty to ensure that technology brings warmth to our lives, rather than making our world colder. And when we look at AI products today, one AI product has been in the top 10 since the beginning. It's the character AI. Character AI lets you chat with anyone you can think of as long as you have enough data and an understanding of it. You can chat with Elon Musk, Picasso, Shakespeare, Lao Tzu, etc. And there's another example. A recently launched collaboration app called Lark caught my eyes. Its AI assistant doesn't feel like a separate helper. It's just like one of your teammates, your colleagues, helping you create great things. It's a very natural way to work together. And these robots help kids with autism understand how to act in social situations. They can copy most facial expression with the help of vision network AI, and they talk 20% slower than most people. So with organic and empathetic design, we can make great design in the age of AI, but we need something more in the AI design. Just like Spider-Man once said, great power comes great responsibility. AI is very, very powerful, so we need to make sure we use it right, which means we have responsibility to build a safe, private, inclusive, diverse, and accessible AI. By the year of 2030, the World Health Organization predicts that more than 2.5 billion disabled individuals will require assistive technology, but they will lack access to these vital products. As per Bionic, the company uses AI to teach their prosthetic hand to predict what movement you want to make. It's such an amazing use of AI. I really love it. And if we look at this, it's just a very normal bottle of water you can find in your daily life. What could it possibly have to do with AI? Actually, lots of people don't realize that AI uses a lot of energy and water. For example, a basic conversation of 35 questions with ChatGPT requires a bottle of water for cooling. This is such a big problem, but even as a designer, we have to do something with it. So we invented this new always-on display called Homeland. It shows how global warming is affecting Earth. If the temperature goes up by 1 degree, it can change the lives of many species. And this display checks the real-time temperature and time that shows animated endangered animal on your screen. You know, generative AI can have problems with bias. For example, if you ask DALL-E or Midjourney, and you just type in the prompt for beautiful woman, what would it come out? So, yeah, mostly. You get a picture of white and blonde lady. It's not the fault of Midjourney or DALL-E. It may be because of the data it was trained. To make AI better, we need to have a more diverse training data and have a more diverse team. So we can see here, Google's new 10-shade scale helps AI recognize darker skin tone better. It was a problem before, but now with the help of AI network, it's solved. We need to make sure that AI will be used for a more inclusive and diverse society. Welcome to the real world. So, responsible AI is safeguarding privacy, empowering inclusivity, and fostering a sustainable future. Here, I really want to share with you that to build a better AI product in the future, we have 3 principles of AI design. In the age of AI, good design is organic. In the age of AI, good design is empathetic. In the age of AI, good design is responsible. Let's design the future of AI together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zhang. Thank you. So we are looking forward to the new excitement that Oppo has to offer. And next up, we will delve into digitalizing the apparel industry. So please stay tuned. Welcome back to a detailed power talk focusing on pioneering the digitalization of apparel industry with Professor José Tunazin, Director and Professor of Amsterdam Fashion Institute, and explore how technology can revolutionize the way we design, produce, and consume clothing. So let's welcome Professor José Tunazin.
Welcome, and thank you for inviting me here at the Business of Design Week. It's a great pleasure. We're currently running a workshop upstairs with our research and educational partners in Hong Kong, and we are on the same page in how we need to transform the industry. So I'll tell you a little bit on this today. A little bit of my background. I started more than 30 years ago as a scholar and a curator on fashion, primarily looking at fashion as a cultural phenomenon, like things like, why are men wearing already 200 years a suit? Why is it still appropriate? Why women are wearing skirts and only started to, allowed to wear skirts from the 1960s? Just one area of interest, and one area also that shows how much fashion is connected to our identities, to our social life, to our culture. Already in the 1990s, I co-wrote a book. It was called The New Clothes, actually on the appearance of fashion, but the world behind it. That was the moment when all the production, the pollution, the low wages culture, all those dimensions behind the nice glamour of fashion became, visible and knowable already in the 1990s, and we didn't make much progress since. In the early 2000s, I just curated an exhibition and also published this book, Global Fashion, Local Tradition, which was just dealing with the rise of internet and the World Wide Web and the effect on fashion. The positive side of it was that actually, the world was connected. Fashion weeks came up everywhere. There's not that much a focus anymore on the Western, but also definitely on other cultures and the craftsmanship in other cultures. But on top of it, there was another thing. It was the start of fast fashion, copying things, getting trends across the world. It was much more easier. Also supported by a much faster production process. And we all know it ends up in a culture where, we have every day a new trend on Instagram, and we don't know anymore where the trend is standing for. Before we had punk, we had really trends and fashion that was related to some sort of political, ideas or statement or youth culture. And nowadays, it's new, and we want to have it, but what is it, and where are we ending here? So what is the fashion system at the moment? So it's still a push market. It's really unsustainable because the business model is still, if you sell 30%, you throw something on the market. If you sell 30%, you already have, it's cost effective. The 30 other percent, it's going into sales, and there's still a 30% that is even not sold at all. That's why we have such a waste problem here. Fast fashion, I already mentioned it. Nowadays, every day there's something new in the market. Every week there's something new in the store. And I don't know if it's completely true, but some consumers buy a piece of clothing just to make that picture for Instagram and then throw it away. In the basic, fashion is still a linear industrial production process, and not that much has changed there. But there is a lot of digitalization happening, and that is giving us the solution. Some facts before I start. So, looking in Europe, we are not the second, but the fourth most polluting industry. We have to do a lot of, water resources are needed to get the production done. We produce an enormous amount of textile waste, which 57% is still going into landfill. And nowadays we only wear our garments only 7 or 8 times, completely different from 40 or 50 years ago when we need to make some savings and could buy maybe 1 or 2 more special pieces per season. And a lot of people made their own garments by then. So it's still it's a completely different world. In 2015, I started a research project with Polytechnic Milano and Boros, just to scoping out what was happening on the digitalization in fashion. And we just looked into research centers, to companies, and to education, higher education. And surprisingly enough, you see a focus in Europe. Most of the effort and research was done by then in Europe. Also, of course, some things in especially North America, and then a small bit in Eastern Asia. Today I have discovered, I know for a longer time, that Hong Kong and Asia is also quite developed in the digital. But by then, the most research and also thinking was done in Europe. We made a benchmark report together with the industry, and that's what I think is interesting for today. It really just tells us that we need to think differently, that we only can just make the changement in industry and become more sustainable if we expand what design is in fashion. So design has also need to liaise and to reach out to software engineering, to biology, because there are new materials. There's digital product development, so it's a whole new area that needs to relate to design. And of course also it leads to new business models, it leads to changing in society, so there's a whole new ecosystem that we need to take in account. The results of that project, where we also looked into what kind of new curriculum or how do we need to teach our students, we took to another level, to another project, which was called Fashion Tech Alliance. We started that in 2019. And there we added 2 universities where came on board, TU Delft and Estia, 2 other ones. Estia with a closer relation to Decathlon, because they do all the R&D for Decathlon in the south of France. And PVH is another big company based in Amsterdam. And then a couple of 9 or 12 really small companies, digital, savvy, startups and small companies that didn't have to make a big transition, but already have a setup as a digital company. So, and they gave us quite a lot of feedback, and it was an interesting collaboration in just finding, where are we heading towards, what does it mean for education, what does it mean for research, what does it mean for the companies. So one of the conclusions is, and I think PVH was a great example of this, that in larger companies, they are bringing in startups and fashion tech incubators who help to lead the design teams, but also the marketing teams in digitalize their processes. And they will come into the business, but with a lot of problems, of course, because it's not only a part of the supply chain or the design chain that it is changing, but it also has a knock-on effect on sales and sometimes on the supply chains and on the whole business model. So this is still happening. It's not like completed. It's also not like being successful. They're making progress, but it's not like completely completed at the moment. Another important outcome of the research is that fashion designers need to have the 3D skills to be able to follow the digital design process. But in order to be able to understand the digital design process, they still need the traditional pattern cutting and the understanding of how fashion is made, because otherwise. So it actually will lead to what we are looking at the moment is just to offer a sort of hybrid education where we teach them the physical together with the digital. And also, of course, there's a recommendation into the traditional market that young people probably need to upskill the traditional craftsmanship. And they can learn from them, and vice versa. Those digital savvy young designers can learn from the still, of course, very crafty knowledge of the older designers. Also, there needs with innovation, we need to focus on the technical part of the innovation, and designers need to have, again, a real understanding of textiles and the product development. So it's not enough that just saying, okay, I don't like this fabric, I don't like another one. They really need to know the sustainable elements, but also really try to do an effort in using maybe biodegraded materials, biomaterials. So they really need to have a real understanding in how things are made. They need to be open for new things. So textile, which a lot of universities have skipped out of their curriculum, needs to be brought back in. This is also the discussion of this morning. Because in the end, it's only a couple of years before us. Every product needs to have a digital product passport, so you really need to have a real understanding of how the product is made. You need to be completely transparent. The positive side of it is also leading to, and we'll come back to that later, to much more specialized design roles like zero-waste pattern cutting. There are all kinds of niche elements which a designer can focus on and bring in new knowledge, different ways of making. So it also offers a lot of opportunities, but they're all related to technology in some sense. And of course, here also comes in data. So we really need to look into the complete supply chain, and that will give us a lot of data on all levels that we really need to understand. And for designers, this is also a whole new area. So there are a lot of AE data out on sales. Inditex is great in using them. They know exactly what has sold last year. They know exactly what is selling in some sort of shops, and they can just, change things in their logistic and bring things to the places where actually some products are selling very well. There are a lot of data on prognostics, on trends that are available, AE, that's also, you need to take that in account. And then, of course, the supply chain data on sustainability. And then probably maybe the most interesting one is the body measure data. And you nowadays you have several apps where you can actually just make a picture of your own sizes, and then you get the exact body measurements. And still, we are working with standardized measurements, but if we, incorporate and use all those data, we actually coming to a very new kind of fashion design where the designer needs to integrate all those aspects of the consumer. And then, using advanced manufacturing, we could, shift to a manufacture process where the consumer comes in with the exact measurements, using all the data, and the product is only being made when it's ordered. So we don't have then a push market anymore. We make a product that a consumer wants to buy, and and we don't have to make all those big investments beforehand. But this is future thinking. But it really needs a different kind of designer that's much more a designer that has some understanding of engineering or knows how to work with an engineer that is and a scientist thinking differently. And that leads to maybe a person that's not a star designer, just inventing the trends, but someone that is much more, integrated in a process. We discussed it this morning. Why do we need fashion shows? Do we need fashion shows? Is that the future of the designer? Is it a star designer, or is it completely someone else? Bringing this to the retail, then we just see two different areas. So on the one hand, we'll just, if we really can use advanced manufacturing, make a product based made to measure on small micro robotic factories, we see on the one hand micro boutiques, online fashion platforms, young designers. They need hardly any investment, and they just make their production nearby in some micro factories. At the same time, we also see, and you see that with Inditex, with H&M, big, and PVH, very good example, vertical integrated flagship stores with online selling, sales, knowing exactly what kind of basics they can produce every year based on their sales data, but also giving that vertical platform. So we'll definitely see that shift. Then, based on all this information, we started a project when I worked at LCF with McKinsey, with a lot of European money, millions, to actually upskill the Turkish manufacturing industry, because they feel they need to become digital savvy, being able to be still the interface between the European designers and the manufacturing Turkey. So we started to build their digital advanced manufacturing studio, and we just provided a lot of short courses to actually upskill and train several people from the companies. And this project is still going on, but it's also preparing for a different market, a different way of working, a different future. What does it mean for education? For education, most of the fashion technology schools started already in 2008, 2009 to implement Lectra and Gerber as the tools to digital develop a product. Later on, PLM systems were integrated, where you could also cost-effective and all those elements embed as a tool in your design process. And lately, we've been working on digital twins and digital avatars and trying also to open the immersive side of it. It means that we are having different research, different labs that are really working on, digital twins, really representing or being the counterpart of the physical ones. So for us, it's also shifting away to a different direction. But most important, I think, here is it leads to a sort of new values. So this is an interesting example. It was already mentioned here a couple of days ago, made by our students at Amphi, based on the Dutch traditional sailor sweaters. Every village all sailors had the same kind of sweater, but every village had different motifs. So when a sailor was drawn, one could easily see from which village that person was. And what our students did is also made a sense of belonging, and we have a beautiful building, and they made patterns for the sweater based on the unique icons of the building, and this has become the Amphi sweater, 3D knitted, as an example of belonging. And this kind of storytelling is really becoming more important than, go for the new trend. Another spin-off of this is Amber Sloten, who started the Fabricant, who was the first online person who sold an online garment. She's still having that property. She primarily sells those NFTs for gaming, for games, but also has some collaborations with luxury brands, because also they want to have like a digital spin-offs as an addition to their physical garment stores. And then also, I think interesting, digital embroidery is possible. You can use AE for it, and then look especially also to the background, because the immersive side brings a completely new glamour or imaginations to fashion than it used to be. Iris van Herp is also such an amazing example of a completely different way fashion is. Fashion is selling a dream, because it's less built on a classical glamour. It's much more built on fairy tales, on completely immersive realm. So that's a completely different area that is going. It's still working. I need to up speed. This is an example of a vintage that's got like a digital twin. Is also claiming less is sexier than the new, so we need to bring in new elements. So what we finally are doing is shifting away from a focus to trends and on the new, and we're introducing new stories, ethics, storytelling, and so fashion will be much more a product than a trend. Coming back to education, I'm not going to explain it. It's leading to, on all levels, to a lot of new job roles. This is what we scoped out and this is, I think, for the future, a really nice focus point, and just also to see, where we need to educate our students. And then I won't read, these are my last slides. This leads to a very different kind of competences: critical thinking, collaboration, thinking about materials, thinking about future possibilities, thinking about new business models, and other kind of soft skills. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Tunazine. Thank you. Thank you for your insights sharing. Thank you. And coming up next, we will have a power talk on active change for a sustainable world. So please stay tuned. Thank you. And now we will bring you a power talk on Be the Change for a Sustainable World, led by Barbette Porcelain, MSc, designer and writer of Think Big, Act Now, offering us a fresh approach to becoming proactive game changers in our pursuit for a sustainable and humane world. So please join me in welcoming Barbette Porcelain.
Thank you so much. Thank you. 你好，我很高兴来到香港. I'm so happy to be here. And, thank you. And I'm so happy that you are here. And I want to thank BODW for inviting me here. I have to be honest, when they asked me, at first I said no, because I don't fly anymore. And then they told me the huge potential positive impact I could have to come here. And then I said yes. I made an exception to actually come here. So, and I'm really, actually I did a lot of things to prepare. I started to learn Chinese, and I printed my book in English, and I have them upstairs. So if you're interested, please come later. And I also plan to plant trees to compensate for the flight. And I want to ask you, what do you think? How many trees do I need to plant to compensate for my flight? Is it A, 12? Please raise your hand. Or is it B, 756? And please stand up if you think it's that. So is it A, 12, or is it B, 756 trees? Yeah, you're kind of divided, I think 50-50. All right, the right answer is 756. So that's a lot of trees. All right, I am Barbette Porcelain. I'm a Dutch designer, a product designer. And when I finished my education, I started to work at agencies for 10 years, and then I started my own agency, and it was very busy, and it was nice. But then I started to write books about the environment, our impact on the environment, and what we can do about that. And now, 10 years later, I have a foundation called Think Big, Act Now, and we give trainings about impact and about impact reporting, and also online and in English. So, and we have a speaker academy, and all these things. So what happens for me to change my career in this way? Well, I was just at home with my husband, and the kids were out playing, and he told me that he made a calculation. He said, did you know that in a new car, there is the equivalent of 6 years of driving, the amount of energy it takes to only produce the materials in the car. I was flabbergasted. I never realized this. And then he told me that he calculated that each and every day, worldwide, we lose 27 million trees to deforestation. And then I was shocked because I know deforestation is taking place. I just didn't realize it was so big. And he said it's not just a problem because these trees need to absorb CO2. It's also a problem because they make fertile soil, they do the water cycle, so they make rain, and they are home to 80% of biodiversity on land. And they are our life support system. And I said, in all my naivete, I said, why do we cut them if they're so important? And he said it's often to make way for feed crops. So like the soy in the Amazon. So in the end, it's for the piece of meat on our plate. So I turned vegetarian on the spot, and but we talked the whole afternoon, and it was the first time that I really let sink in the situation we're in and what we're actually doing. And there were 3 windows that opened in my mind that made me change everything in my life and my work. So the first window that opened was, when I used to look outside, it looked okay. I didn't see the pollution. I said, it looks fine. But I realized that we did not diminish our impact in Holland. We merely moved it to the other side of the world. And there it goes on, but without us knowing about it. So there is a hidden problem. And I thought this might be very important to start thinking about these things. The second thing is that until that day, I had the feeling that caring about the environment is for people who love nature, who love polar bears. But I realized this is actually existential because we are breaking down our life support systems. So this is a matter that concerns my kids. It might concern my own life and the life of many, many people on the planet. So this is way more important than I thought. And the third thing that really got me going was, until that day, I used to think that it was the industry. And the governments should make the industry clean up their act. But I realized that if I buy that meat, and if I buy new cars, I am paying them to do all that stuff. So I'm pulling all these strings and have no idea what I'm doing. And I want to understand and pull different strings. So I started to investigate and I never stopped. So let me share with you 2 questions that I was asking myself. And the first one is about a laptop. There are a few over there. And the question is, do you think there is more impact in the production of the laptop or in the waste phase? If you think it's production, please raise your hand. If you think it's the waste phase, please stand up. So which has more, causes more harm to the environment? For A, please raise your hand. For B, please stand up. You're divided again. That's interesting. So the right answer is it's production. It's production. It's the big red bars over there. It's mining and production. And we often forget the huge impact that mining has. It's a hidden or forgotten impact. Then the green bars are actually the energy use during the lifetime of the laptop. And these very small stripes on the right, the pink stripes, this is the impact of the waste phase. So you can see it's not really the big thing, but it shows how you can interpret circularity. because it's not about the harmful phase of the waste itself, it's preventing these red bars that make circularity so important. So that's good to know. And I'm also curious, why do you only have energy labels on the use phase? This is weird, isn't it? So I find it interesting to understand what are the big things and what are details. And to start with the big things, your way of becoming more sustainable is going to be more effective. So what can you do with this information? Well, the first one is buy less new computers. Just take care of them and use them as long as you possibly can. If they don't work anymore, hand them in so we can reuse and recycle the materials. And we don't need new mining. And thirdly, we need to clean up the mining and the production processes. So this is an open question, so please shout. What do you think is the #1 impact you have as a consumer? Please, tell me. Food, yeah. What else?
Clothing.
Clothing, yeah. Other ideas?
Water.
Water, yeah.
Mobility.
Mobility? All right, I will give you the answer. I didn't know either, so I hired an agency to calculate this for me, and because it hadn't been done. I was I searched over 2,000 scientific reports to make my books, but this one hadn't been done. So I hired an agency to calculate this for me, and it turns out the #1 impact is actually consumer goods. And as a product designer, I was not very happy about this, but it is what it is, and I have to deal with this. So that's my way of looking at it, is face the facts and deal with it the best way you can. The second impact is the car. I think in Shanghai it might be lower because you don't have many cars here, so that's a good one. So your top 10 might look different. The third one is housing, building them and living in them. Fourth one is eating meat and fish. Fifth one is flying. Then comes the rest of all your food and drinks. And the seventh one is clothing. It's low, isn't it? But it's huge, so can you imagine the impact of the rest? The eighth one is dairy and eggs, and then comes your hot water use, and the last one is using public transportation. As you can see, that's more of a solution than a problem. And because we are all have different lifestyles, we digitalized this impact top 10, and you can test yourself online. You can find the link later, and we have also translated it to English, so you can actually use it and see for yourself what your biggest impacts are. And if you act on those, you know that your efforts are worthwhile. All right, so what can you do? What are the big 5 solutions? These are them. The first one is buy as less new products as you possibly can. I know it's very counterintuitive for you as well as people in Holland to buy no new stuff, but to reuse, to buy second-hand, to use them very much longer, to share, stuff like that, to repair what's broken. That would help. The second one is to eat more plant-based food. Third one is to live in a small house. I think you've got that covered too. Well insulated. It might be a thing. And use fossil-free energy in the house. The fourth one is to use fossil-free mobility, preferably not through the air. And the fifth one is efficiency. Don't waste any food, any energy, any water, and materials and products. So if the whole world, everyone would live like this, using the big 5, we would be out of trouble. So, why is that? What is going on with impact? thing is, we are both very small. Holland is a small country. Hong Kong is even smaller. And what we did is that we exported a lot of our production facilities to abroad. But we are one of the richest countries in the world. And we buy a lot, we import a lot. And we actually exported to the green countries, which are the biggest production countries in the world. And the impact of this production is huge. And I have to stress this, it's not just CO2 emissions, and it's not just plastic. It's all different kinds of impact on the nature, on the climate, and it's on the environment, pollution, and the scarcity of materials. So there are all different kinds of impacts going on. And what do? Our governments, we look at CO2 emissions during use. We look at plastics and wrappings. And you leave out a lot. And I wanted to understand how much you leave out, so I made a calculation. And it turns out it's over 80%. So that's a huge blind spot, and I don't think we can afford such a blind spot if we want to get into the safe place, which is this. We live in Holland as if we have 3.5 planets. And in Hong Kong, you live as if you have more than 4 planets, and we only have the one. And it's our spaceship that keeps us safe. So what we should do, as soon as we possibly can, is to reduce our impact and get within planetary boundaries. I actually think this is more important than GDP. This should be our primary measure. To be more precise, what I found in scientific reports is that we need to reduce our energy use with 40%. We need to reduce our use of biosources by 2/3. And we need to reduce our raw material use with 75%. That is huge. I don't like this. But as I said, let's face it and deal with it the best way we possibly can. And these three things are, transitions are key. So the first one is the energy transition, the second one is the protein transition, eat plant-based food, and the third one is the circular economy. And they're really going to help. So it helps us to do things better, it helps us to do things differently, but we also probably need to consume a lot less. How do you react to this story? There are different ways and different responses I hear. The first one says, yeah, well, science is just an opinion. The second one says, yeah, it might be true, but the environment is not really my thing. The third one says, my neighbor is never going to change, so why should I? And the fourth one says, yeah, this is so horrible and scary, and we're lost anyway, so it doesn't matter what I do. And they get depressed, and that's really sad. And the fifth one says, okay, this is very complex, and it's not all nice, but this is what the world needs. I need to understand what is going on, and I need to act on it. And we just have to get to work. And we all can be, and we all are game changers. Not just us here on stage, you all are. And we all have a vital role to play, whether you're a farmer, an architect, a purchaser, a marketeer, or a designer. We all have different roles to play, different pieces of the puzzle to put down in the big puzzle that we have to lay as humanity. But understanding what your impact is and how you can act upon it, the knowledge about that is vital. We need to be more impact literate. So, what goal to set for yourself? You can, as a company or as a person, you can say, okay, I want to get within planetary boundaries. But to me, that feels, and that, of course, we need that, but it feels limiting. It doesn't feel inspiring. So the next level is that you say, okay, I'm going to compensate inevitable impact, like I'm doing with my flight. And the third level is the one that I really love. And I call that eco-positive. And it means that you do more good for the planet than you harm it. And that could mean, as a designer, you can do so many things. You can help businesses create eco-positive business models. You can design for longevity, and you can do marketing and communication to help people understand that it might be a good idea to to get within planetary boundaries, etc. You can do so many important things. And as companies, as businesses, what we need is eco-positive business models. How can you make money? By cleaning up the mess. How can you make money? By reinforcing nature, or by inspiring people or organizations to become eco-positive or to get within planetary boundaries. Help them do that. It's not very easy, and so it's necessary that we gain, as I said, impact literacy, or to close the material loops. How can you make money doing that? Well, I think we saw a lot of examples the last 3 days, so you might have a good idea about that. I don't know, I don't think you saw this example yet, but I'll tell you. It's a very lovely example of an eco-positive business model. Interface is a producer of carpets, and the raw material they need is complex plastic. And it happens to be exactly the same plastic as used for fishing nets. Now, there is a big lake in the Philippines which is totally void of fish. It's totally empty, but it's filled with fishing nets. Fishermen are out of work, and what they do is that they pay the fishermen now to fish for fishing nets. So the people have work again, the lake gets cleaned up, and they have their raw material. So it's always good to keep in mind, if you help people do the big five, you're spot on, and it really matters what you do. And I try to live according to the big five, and it's really so nice, actually. It may sound like my life is down the drain, but it's actually better because I'm more healthy. We have these hugely adventurous travels, which is really lovely. And I save money. People think it's expensive, but I actually save money. And that brings me to the most important thing, and that is that it gives me freedom. I have the freedom to do what I think the world needs, the thing that I really want to do, what I'm good at, what the world wants to pay for, what I love, but especially what the world needs. And I would like to invite you to all think, perhaps even every day, to think about, is what I'm doing really what the world needs? Enjoy the ride. Thank you very much. 谢谢.
Thank you so much, Margaret. Thank you. Thank you for your insights and enlightening us with a fresh approach to sustainability. And she would really love to invite you all to meet and greet her at Room NL and engage in a more deep conversation with her to make her visit worthwhile. Thank you. And coming up next, we will have a power talk and fireside chat on design education. Thank you. This Power Talk is focusing on creative leadership and design education. Our speaker is Jurgen Bay, founder and director of Studio Makink and Bay. Bringing his experiences to the field of education, he has been the key force behind the transformation of Dutch design industry. And the fireside chat will be led by Patrick Bruce, founding director of the Oval Partnership Limited. So please welcome them on stage.
Thank you. Members of the audience, guests, and those of you online, thank you very much for joining us today. And my fundamental duty, of course, is to welcome Jurgen to BODW 2023. Jurgen, thank you very much for coming all this way. If you haven't already looked at the website for Makink and Bay, I would strongly recommend that you do so. There's some extraordinarily inspiring information and thinking, which I think has a fundamental impact on the future of our industries and our professions as we're running forward. In keeping with the BODW theme, of course, Jurgen is a real proponent of that particular issue called game changer. His input, both in professional design terms, but in terms of this particular session, education, how we educate future designers to think, to work, to interact in a world which is becoming increasingly complex. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome you. Thank you, Jurgen, again, for coming on. I can assure you we're all very eager to hear what you have to say. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I indeed want to talk about education. One of the reasons that I've always stayed, besides having a studio, I've always stayed in education because I think it's the only place where future always exists. And it's the energy that is there that I feel very comfortable with. But it's also this idea of like, what is actually sustainability? We talk a lot about reuse, but there are, of course, many different ways of being extremely sustainable. And I think education is one of them, because in education we never produce. We act, we think, we live in our future, we come with proposals, but we stay within proposing. And then when we are ready, things will come out of it, when they have been practiced, when they have been thought through, and then they actually are being made. And I like that also to think about, like we talk a lot about the virtual reality. And I think education is a virtual reality, but it's very physical. And it's also like how I like to work within the studio. We have always worked in places that we call in the Netherlands anti-squatted, and basically it's architecture that is waiting for its next thing to happen. And in the meantime, it can't be used. And the question is, what does it do? Does it just sit, or is it give us the chance to have a big studio, a lot of space, where we can actually build things one-to-one? So instead of like making, like producing and selling, we produce, but we do make just a model world where we live in, where we feel how it works before we actually come to develop it. And that's also like where the water school started. The water school is a thinking that what are the places, where are the actually game changers living? And I think in education, in primary education, it's a place where basically we are still in the most inclusive position, because the future banker is sitting next to the future cleaner, not in a different position. They are like friends playing together, or fight because they don't like each other. And it's the same with all the people that are within the school, the teachers, that follow the future designers, they're all there, and they're still like in a community. And in education, it's also like a primary education is also the only place where parents are still wishful to be. And the parents are there to cherish their children, not for what they know, but basically for what they not know. And that's the awkward thing in our reality. If we come to our reality, we always tend to think that we have to listen to the people that know, and that the ones that know are then bringing our future that we should follow. In our primary education, it's the opposite. It's the children that are in a society, that come from curiosity, trying to understand it, and then they go home, and at the home, parents are listening to the children. If the children would say, maybe we could live for a while, we could not eat meat for a while, then you will follow that, and then after a while, you could think, this is not a bad way to do. So it basically is a landscape that is able to develop us. So to think what and where should we start could then be with the primary education, since we have not chosen our profession, that can we develop it as a landscape? Can we see that a school is not just a building with a book, and that needs to be supported by furniture so you can sit, so you can go to a toilet, but it's actually a whole landscape. So the landscape is the school itself, the outside of it, the products that are in it, but also the parents that live aside, so also the residential area. And if you would see that as a landscape that you would actually live in and live together, then that's also where we can change without being afraid for our investment. So instead of like we think we invest in a house, so the house should be solid and it should be like where the values are still, we can start these things within a school. And if you start it within the school, you already have the whole community. So it's basically soft politics that we could start, like a new living, with the people that in 20 years are also the ones that will live in that future and needs to act within that future. So what happens if that school is not just the normal education that we have given, but everything that's been built and we use is water related, not to tell in morals and figures how much it does and what it does, because we all know, of course, we do like knowledge, but we also know that there is a way of living that we do follow. So if that school would change and say, we only want to live in a very sustainable world, they could also say, for instance, since it is basically also the biggest market, since everyone is going to primary education, it means that you could also say, if we are having products within our school, then maybe 30% should be made locally. 10% should be maybe handmade. 40% should maybe be sustainable. So you could raise all those questions, and then you tell the market, if you want to give us the products, this is what we want, and this is what we're willing to pay. And then let that market, because it says it is so powerful, so clever, let them make those products that do fit all of these things. And therefore, you could start a change in a world that is still uncertain. So if you look at that, indeed, this landscape that has all the different scales, it's like it goes from the residential area towards the building, towards the products that you use, towards the curriculum that is set. But basically, you touch the whole field. And if we would do that through culture, through design, but also through storytelling, it means that we would build this school quite different. And then you can think about, like, for instance, like what does it do with industry? So let's say that we do the architecture and we're going to build with very specific bricks that we develop that will take care of the climate within the school. Then within that school, you are related to industry. So when children are in that school, they don't just think what they learn or what you can become, but by seeing the bricks and how they are made, they can also be getting interested in industry, maybe by the accounting, but maybe by the materials, all the different things. So it's not just the books, it's basically the whole surrounding you would live in. Same that if you think about, there is designs that the glasses they use for all the different sand that comes from different places into the world, which means that every glass has a different color depending which sand has been used. So you could imagine that when there is someone having a birthday and you all get something to drink, that all the colors have different, all the glasses have different colors, and those different colors relate to the country where the sand comes from. So then topography becomes interesting, not because you like maps, but you like glass, and you like glass, and you like water, and then through that water, you get again in the topography. So this interdisciplinary we always talk about can happen also there, that the way you get seduced, same that if you think think about like the filters to make the water really good and drinkable, that can be done for charcoal. You could imagine once a year you would have like a big pile on the premises, and then you would all burn that, and then that becomes all the filters as a festival to see the burning of the wood becoming part of your filter. And again, some children are interested by the chemistry of it. The others know that about the fire, that you have to do it without oxygen. So everyone gets into this story and knowledge from a different angle, but not because there are constantly books on your table, so only reading is the intelligence. So finally we get education that talks about intelligence, but in making energy, making intelligence, material intelligence, social intelligence. So when you are a student, you choose from which intelligence you start, and not what kind of position you will take and how much money you will make when you take that route of education, knowing that a lot of people that will never be able to get there will then have to cherish that line. Same that if you are an extreme good cleaner, then instead of telling you that like you are the best cleaner of the world, taking care of the places, know exactly when the building gets deteriorated, just by seeing a drop, you know exactly where it comes from. They say if you want to grow as a cleaner, you should become a manager. And then when you're a manager, you should maybe start the whole cleaning business. Instead of what you're really good at is what you're going to do, and it becomes more and more delicate, and the machines are getting more and more interesting and complicated, and therefore you are the ultimate cleaner, able to grow. And I think those things are so important in education, and it has to start when you haven't chosen yet, when the world has not been taken, when you start with curiosity. And this is where primary education is. So we should think more as in a landscape. Same if you think about the uniform, if you think about the clothes wearing, it means you could also discuss the laundry. So the school should start a workshop and a laundry so you know how it gets cleaned. But also if you want to start experimental with very clean way of cleaning your clothes and using specific materials, then you already have the huge market of the whole neighborhood. It's the children that bring their stuff. It's like the parents that bring their stuff. So it's not like that you have to do a market research, whether this is the right thing, whether clients want this. As a school, you could start a new initiative. You develop basically a culture of being, which we all know when you choose your children to bring them to a school, you choose for a specific culture in what you think would be best for your child. And that's where I think that the human should be indeed in the center of it, like where the heart is and the head will follow, instead of where the head is and where the heart follows. And also like making this kind of illustrations is also trying to make clear like what it's all about. And when we would start with this human being, we should also maybe, if we start developing a new area, so we're not just doing the school, now we're going to do the same thinking, but then like city development. And instead of starting with finances, we start with what we are built of. There are 10 basic materials that our body exists from. So there's oxygen, there's the carbon, there's the hydrogen, there's the nitrogen, the magnesium, calcium, sodium, go on. Take the first 10. Say that if you have a place where you have to bring in 6,300 people, then if you don't have the materials that we are built of, then how could they exist? Yes, we can buy it from everywhere, and we do it with the amount of money we spend. But what if we would start with a new household book? We would say, if you build a new area, all the materials for the people that have to live there has to be on the shelves. Otherwise, you can't build it. That means that we could develop with an industry of bio-based materials. We could actually make an industry, a working, living area where it's not here, it's residential, and there it's work. But the world you wouldn't like to go, you go after you go to your work, you basically turn around and then like, oh, I'm at home. And oh, I'm at work. And so the same place has the same qualities. So then you can choose, will I go to home or will I go to work, on the enjoyment of where you would like to be. And all the basic materials are there, which means, what would that mean for kind of materials? These are all designers that work in a different way with the bio-based materials. So basically, that would be like the first, like the production and also the design, but also the makers that would get into this area. So they will build your houses, they will build your products, they will make your food, everything based on the materials that we are built of. So everything you have can choose, do I want to be a building? Do I want to be a person? Do I want to be a bicycle? And then after having been a bicycle, do I want to be like having bicycled so much with all this grocery on my back? Should I be food? Let's be food next day. So the same material can transform from all the different positions, which means because we all know let's say the basics of those materials are there. Then you could also make an inventory of what kind of designs have made it, of what kind of materials, what kind of elements are in it. So for instance, if you would do a calculation of the amount of calcium, this was for the harbor in Rotterdam, you can think how much shells and then mussels there should we grow in front of the sea to make sure that we have enough calcium for all the people that are living there. And then when you start there, you can also think how much protein will we get from the shells that we have grown there, so we have already that, and how much water gets filtered by the shells in the sea. So you start with a whole new calculation of how we are going to build and how we want to be of that. And what does that mean if that becomes like a working, educational, and living area? For socially, we don't have gentrification, because in gentrification, I've never heard that the people that come and invest a lot of money to have like a very nice house and say, I choose the industrial area to live in. You always think, no, I want this thing next to the river with this great view where I can see, that's why I built my house. And then I first built my house, and then you need groceries, and then you need a school, which basically means you start with a group of people that are like gentrification, and it will never be followed by the people that are socially. But if you do it socially, and some of the people that would normally gentrify, but also really, really like to live in a living area, in a working area, they will come for the same idea. So these are examples of where you can see what the industry already does, but also what kind of designs involved with that. So if you take those designers, if you take those residencies, these are the kind of landscapes that you would choose for. And again, no renderings, but like educational models where I show what kind of culture you would like to live in. Because those renderings, we know them, they look amazing, but then we get there, there's no culture, it doesn't live like that. And here, it's like literature. You choose what you read, and then you think it is. So these are examples constantly. So first there was the seaweed, which is then energy related, but we can also use it for product and food. This is mycelium, product developed for construction areas, but then also at the end it can be food. Then we have like the idea of what that means. I'm hitting up because I only have 30 seconds left. So then you have the insects, because like for a kilogram of meat, you need 15,000 liters to actually make it, and then not even think about the resources you need for it. But if you take it from insects, or you would take it from soya, then it's only 1,500. So it's a tenth of the amount of water that you need. So it's much more sustainable. But imagine you would work for insects. Then on the left again, you can see what kind of products, related materials there are over there. But imagine that we are going to build in fabric. Because it's insects, they don't need like concrete walls. They just need like not to be able to fly out. That's basically nets. So we would have like an architecture that's made by the fashion industry. Oh, the fashion industry was not the industry that had a little bit of a problem that we wear too little the clothes we wear, and then we translate them, because the amount of labor we have in textiles is incredible. If we would say tomorrow we're not going to change our clothes anymore, where are all these people going to live? What will they eat? How will they spend their families? How do they send their children to education? You cannot just break the chains and say, oh, tomorrow we do it different. It has to grow. So what happens if the industry of fashion becomes the industry of building? Imagine you go to a construction area, and you know it here really well. All the walls are hard, the sound is horrible, the dust is terrible, it's everything. But imagine 1,000 sewing machines. And that's then a building site. And then the wind blows and your walls will go like that, and behind there's like the butterflies flying and everything. That is the possibility. So it's not just accounting, it's like what kind of culture are we going to build and how will it look like? And then we advertise with that and grow or not. And that's where I think that we could even, if it's all nature related, bio-based, it basically means we go back, and I know it's a very Christian story, but we start with a paradise that is just nature, two people starting, not being able to control. Even two people they couldn't control. And they thought, now we do this self-inflection, and therefore the hands got off it, and then we got like a whole society growing in our complexity that we are right now. And I think it is amazing. No one is willing to say we should live with less. That's why I'm here. That's why I like it so much to be in Hong Kong, because I believe in a society that is as dense as it is here. Because I'm pretty sure if I would ask you all, like say half of you have to leave just because like life, there are too many people, then who are willing to raise their hand and say, oh, I will step out tomorrow, so then I make space that we are with less? No one. And I don't think it's the goal. The goal is that we do believe in our society, that we are able to live with it, but we have to change. Yes, we have been practicing and building and making all of these things ready. Now it's time to think, can we redirect all that energy, all that knowledge into like a sustainable world? And what happens if that would become indeed like a more natural world, bio-based, then it would probably be that we would live more in sort of a garden of delight with all kind of products that we reinvent, from first the food and how to process the food and how the clothes. So there is already a library, because there is already so many designers working in this field and thinking. And how can we best seduce our world to change is to start with the 9-year-olds. They don't know what it should be or would be. They know only what they like. And if they live in a world they like, they will grow their own world, and we just have to follow. Because that is the beauty of power. The beauty of power is that you're not going to stand in front of God. There's no fun. If you're so good and you stand in front, you see nothing, and it's just your world. The beauty of fun, or the beauty of power, is you go behind in the line again, and you whisper to the people, if you do this, you might do that, if you do that, and then you grow a world that can like make a big leap. This is where I end my story. Otherwise, like I take all the time for our discussion.
Jurgen, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. That is absolutely an astonishing story. And it seems to me that there are two things here that drive it. One is, and I will quote from your company website, a belief that of the indissolubility, the inseparability of urban planning, architecture, landscape, and product design. This is really interesting. This is bringing the disciplines, what we consider today the separate disciplines of architecture, back into the realm of all of those multiple specializations that we now know as the other design disciplines, and bringing them back into one continuous whole. In a sense, it takes us back to the beginning of the 20th century. It's a kind of version of the style of the arts and crafts movement, of the Bauhaus movement, bringing all that back together again. This seems to be one of the fundamental drivers of your work and the development of the water school. Do you think that is a new reality?
Yeah, I think that, like, of course, I'm not sure, but like to try to analyze the qualities of it is that every time we're doing really well, then a lot of like different positions are going to develop, and into a complex world as we are right now, you cannot oversee everything. But I do think that at a moment when the heat is on our feet, you need to cooperate. It's the public domain that needs to develop. So we have our self-development. I come from the 80s, and the ultimate thing in my education was self-development, like the self-employment was like the biggest thing. But it has reached the ceiling. That's where all the problems come from now. And now I think we can only change if we work as a big machine, like a biotope. You cannot just think of like the detail. You have to be part. And what I like so much, and that all the disciplines have developed quite incredibly. So if you do like the city development, then you have, of course, city planning. You've got architecture, you've got interior, then you've got products. We tend to always think we first do the whole, and then we do the architect, then the product. But the beauty is now you can step in as an industrial designer, doing with the CLT, prefab housing. You could start as an industrial designer, developing the thing, and then you get to architecture, and then you do the full circle again, and then you need all the different players. You could also be a writer doing fiction, and doing basically science fiction. So you do fiction, normal fiction, and you think, this is the kind of culture that I would like, the kind of building I would want. Then you go to a developer that reads your book and says, okay, this is what we're going to build. I'm going to search an architect now. So you can step in every process from a different angle, but then being the initiator, instead of that we always think we have to think from big and then slowly go small.
Brilliant, thank you. And it seems to me from your presentation that running through all of this, and this is a very quick comment because we have to end, running through all of this, linking all of this together, your presentation today is a prime example of what I would describe as narrative planning, introducing the concept of linkages between all of these different aspects, not just of design, but of society as a whole. I think it's a very, very fundamental platform that you've created. Jurgen, thank you very much indeed for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to our esteemed speakers. Thank you. So, if you have any feedback that you would like to comment to us about the program, just scan the QR code behind your badge, and on completion, a special gift awaits for you on a first-come, first-served basis. And now it's time for lunch, and we will resume our program here at 2 p.m. And we'll discuss more about the essentials of designing sustainable neighborhoods that embraces environmental friendly, conscious practices. So please enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you back shortly.